So it's August 5 today, and I'm out here on this food plot where we planted strips of corn. And this is the southern plot. You probably remember the update I did with the strips of corn over on the north food plot. So just wanted to give you a quick update on this corn here. And as you can see, it is pretty sparse. It's so sparse that you can tell that the deer have eaten all the ears off the stalks. I would say about 80% of the ears are gone. Pretty hard pressed to find any ears at all. We still have one left right there. But here it is, August 5. And by the time we get to hunting season, obviously, every ear is going to be gone. So what do? Well, we're just going to mow it down. And that's exactly what I did here. I started a little bit ago, and then it started to rain, so I had to quit for a little bit. But mowed about 6 rows of it over here already. And yeah, we're just going to be able to plant our favorite 5-way blend into it this fall. So now we don't have to worry about, working around the corn strips. That'll be one advantage. But yeah, kind of disappointing about the fact that the deer ate all this corn. Last year when we had corn in that big north field, the deer never even ate any of the corn until after the hunting season. That was after the first of the year. So we figured, what, let's try it this year. I mean, I was crossing my fingers. I'm not really one to plant any corn where there's a lot of deer if you don't have enough acres of corn. And just doing strips, you're not going to have the volume. So this is something that if you're ever thinking about doing strips of corn, you better have a lot of it. And hopefully your deer numbers ain't that high, because otherwise, yeah, they're gonna just tear it up. Now on the other field, on the north end of the property, we have 2 strips of Milo out there that we did as kind of a test situation. And the Milo's coming up really well. It's already tasseling out. And when I get done mowing this one, we'll head over there to the north field, and I'll show you how that Milo's doing in comparison to the corn. So anyway, I'm going to finish mowing the rest of this field here. And I'm also mowing some of this clover here. We've got Seclusion 360 from John at Northwoods. And it's really coming in nice. As you can see, we got some really nice clover. You can see we got the chicory. And it's the high-end chicory with the white stem. And so there was a lot of weeds in here, and what the game plan here is I'm mowing this clover and chicory along with all the weeds, and then in about 7 to 10 days I'll be back here to spray IMOX once the weeds and everything and grasses start to recover from the mowing. And then later we'll be planting or drilling more Seclusion 360 clover chicory into this just to make it a little bit thicker. So then also, in about 7 to 10 days, I'll come in here and I'll spray this area where the corn was. And, in between the strips and everything, we've got a lot of weeds in here. I'm going to spray that with Liberty. Liberty does not have a residual. And then a day later, we'll drill our favorite 5-way blend for the fall. And that'll take us to about middle of August. Planting season is about here. I'm pretty excited. And now we'll finish up the rest of this mowing here, and then we'll head over to the other field on the north end.
One thing I like to do at this time of year when weed seeds are growing and producing seed is to rinse off the tractor and the top and bottom of the brush hog, so I'm not carrying weed seeds from plots on one end of the property and spreading them to plots on the other end.
So now I'm over here on the big field that's on the north end of the property, and I'm standing right here at the beginning of the big swamp where there's a big creek running through here. This is where a lot of the mature bucks are bedding. They come up out of there and they'll hit a little Seclusion 360 clover chicory plot right down there along that tree line. And then when they come up here, up this hill, they hit this more Seclusion 360 right here. and we're still going uphill. And once they clear these trees over here, now they're in view of the blind that's on the other side of the plot. And then as they make their way toward the road, we have our strips of corn. And we had 17 strips of corn between here and the road. And what was supposed to be a great divider to separate deer from each other is pretty much a failure on this field as well. So as you can see, we have another stalk with all the corn ears gone, and it's just pretty much a dismal failure. We do have deer out here all the time. They're loving the clover and chicory out here, and also between the rows. But when you hit the second row over, this is where we have our Milo, and the Milo is actually looking pretty good. So you can see it's really starting to tassel out, and this Milo is not really very dark green, and means it needs some nitrogen. So we haven't really, been babysitting this much at all. We've not sprayed any foliar on it. Probably should have done it earlier this year, because what's happening is it's already tasseling out and it hasn't reached its full height yet. So, we got a couple in here that are pretty good. This one is, I'd say that one's about 4.5 feet. So, should really reach about 5 feet. Next year, we are not going to be planting corn, and we'll be able to come in here and drill the Milo, which we didn't do that this year. I just simply broadcasted and dragged it in. And but next year, when we drill it, it ought to be a lot more consistent. Our seeding rate will be exact. We'll do our fertilization the right way, and we should have a good 5-6 foot Milo with some great seed heads on there. But the beautiful thing is that the deer won't eat it. And as you walk through here, you can't see any stalks at all that have been hit by the deer. They completely leave this stuff alone. Now, we do have a lot of weeds and grasses in there. And because Milo is a grass, you can't spray anything like, Roundup or clethodim. So about the only thing you can spray would be like a 2,4-D, which is a weed-only killer. So that's what we'll do next year, and I think we'll have a lot better success. But yeah, look at these stalks of corn. Pretty ridiculous. They have just decimated this cornfield. And you know what? I mean, this being 4 acres, it was just no way we wanted to put the time into putting a hop fence around this thing. It's just way too much work. That's why we kind of went with a test situation of Milo, just to see if this would be a good alternative in case the deer ate it. And I'm glad we did test it, because this is exactly what we had this year. So look at the stalks on this thing. These things are pretty stout. And you can see here the grain head is starting to turn color a little bit, but you'll actually get some really big seeds on here, and that'll turn into a nice tasty grain later this fall for the deer. So, really all we need is 5 foot, because this is not to screen deer from our access getting in and out of a plot, right? So I don't care that this screen has food in it. This is just screening deer from each other and knocking down that sight line distance and giving some cover to that scary road over there. But, as you can see on the far end of the field, we have the miscanthus. That does not have a food component in it. And that's why we planted that there, because now we can walk behind it and get all the way to the blind on the other side. So miscanthus, switchgrass, no food at all. That's where we access. Come out here in the middle of the field, and now we can put in a screen to screen deer from each other with food. So anyway, I'm going to get to mowing this field, corn and all. I'm going to leave the 2 strips of Milo, obviously, and I'll be able to check back in with you guys here in probably about another month. I'll show you what the Milo looks like again, what the grain heads look like, and even then we probably won't have any evidence of deer eating that either. So man, you guys are noisy.